Right, it's the beginning of June and the elderflower is now in full flower. And so we're going to do our first harvest of elderflower heads to make a summer cordial. And we're also going to see what else we can find in our food forest at this time of year.
Hi, I'm Cameron. This is Stina, that's Suki, and that's Bramble. We moved 200 miles to the south of Scotland to take a chance on a life that we wanted to live. We're slowly building our dream, doing as much as we can ourselves and repurposing where possible to save money and reduce waste. Welcome to Bramble Cottage.
So we've now been at Bramble Cottage for approximately 10 months and our food forest that we're trying to establish here is still incredibly young. But there were some plants that we already had in situ. What I noticed when we got here was that we had these elderflower bushes that are growing through the hedge in places, and they'd been cut back repeatedly and never been given much of a chance. So one of the first things I did here was to select this one out and say, right, we're going to let this one become a little bit of a tree, maybe not too tall, but enough that we can start to get some flowers on it that are just about low enough for us to reach. And then since we've let this one come in, there's also been another one over there. And I found a gooseberry down the far end, and we're going to give that one a chance too. So we're going to gradually let this homogeneous hedge turn into something more like a multi-plant system, hopefully with a few more food plants mixed into it. The reason we want to do that is because we want to establish a food forest in our little plot here. We've only got 0.2 acres of land, so every little bit counts. And so having a full, two sides of our garden area surrounded by hornbeam, which isn't edible, just isn't good enough. But also it's not particularly interesting for the wildlife, so lots of birds hang out in this hedge. But it'd just be nice to have different plants that flower and fruit at different seasons, partly so we can harvest them and partly so that the birds, bees, insects can find something interesting all through the year. So over time I want to gradually knock back some of the hornbeam and start to introduce other plants as we can, but it's a very established hedge, so it's going to be a tricky thing to do. So I was really happy to find this elderflower bush growing in here already. I've always wanted to have my own elderflower tree. I've always had to go elsewhere to find elderflowers when I wanted them, and it's just such a kind of a mainstay of any kind of food forest system. So we get the flowers at this time of year. We can make cordials, champagnes, syrups, wine, really nice elderflower wine. So we're going to do cordial this year because it's quick and simple and easy to do in one session. And then moving forward, eventually we'll get berries from this in the autumn, and then again you can make cordials that are really good as winter warmers, full of vitamin C and stave off all the winter flus and that kind of thing. For the recipe we've picked to do today, we're going to need 25 fresh creamy heads. So that's the fully flowering heads like these ones, not the buds or the ones that are a little bit gone over. So we're going to see what we can reach. It's quite high up over here.
The first thing we did with the flower heads was we placed them out on a tea towel so any small bugs had a chance to get away before we boiled them alive. Stina's just cutting off the excess stalk, just to save any bitterness creeping into the mix. And here's a bug which managed to escape. Good on it. Next, I set about zesting 3 lemons and an orange. I don't have a proper lemon zester, so I use this little hand grater that I have, and it's very efficient. Got a lot of zest. Next up, I'm going to juice the lemons and the orange as well, because they're going to be used a little bit later in the recipe. I'm pretty rough and ready. I don't have a juicer to do this, so I just tend to squeeze it into my hand to catch any pips. Works well. Time to start adding the flower heads to the pot. We're just giving them a little shake off before they go in as well, just to get rid of any loose bugs that are still hanging around. But I didn't see any, so I think we've got lucky. And in with the zest as well. Now we're adding 1.5 litres of boiling water into the pan, and this is just going to be left to sit overnight and infuse all of those oils and flavours into the water. And cover, so all the nice flavours don't escape.
In the meantime, we decided to go around the garden and see what we could harvest to make a meal to go with our new cordial. We're turning the garden at Bramble Cottage into a food forest, and we've been here just less than a year now, and we started the food forest in maybe August, September last year, so it's officially 10 months old. We've had no budget to plant the garden up. We've just been salvaging plants from our last home bit by bit as we can, and then adding anything else we come across, and then there were some plants that were already edible on site. And so it's slow progress to build it up, but it's interesting to see what is available at this high season of the year. Later on, we'll have the fun of working out what kind of meal to make with whatever we find. I enjoy harvesting like this because you end up with lots of small bits of plant material and nothing very conventional, so it becomes a creative process to work out what kind of meal to make out of it at the end. These elephant garlic plants are what prompted this harvest today. The flowers have been developing and they're getting really tall, and if they open then that's going to stop the bulbs from growing as big as they should. So I want to cut them back and have a go at sautéing them. I've never done that before. I am going to leave 2 flowers for the bugs and the bees, and also to see how that impacts the size of the bulbs, but we're going to eat the rest. I first discovered bramble tips on a foraging walk in Wales when we used to live there, and it was a revelation to me. Depending on the population, you can get this amazing fruity flavour, and then you go and look at other plants and give them a try and there's no flavour at all. I was really delighted to discover that the brambles that are growing at Bramble Cottage already do have a really lovely flavour. It's not all about flavour though, texture is also important, and this marshmallow is one of my favourites for that. Everything in the Malvaceae family contains mucilage, and so that adds this really nice little bit of sort of chompiness to any kind of salad. Hop shoots is another new one for me that I really wanted to try. People pay good money for these in restaurants these days, and we've got them growing for free at home, so we decided to give them a go. Aside from the feature plants that we really wanted to try, I just went round and picked anything else I could find on site that's edible. There's really not a whole lot at the moment. Most of my plants are very small still, so it's more about variety than quantity from any one of them. I also found that I'm still missing lots of mainstay plants, the kinds of things that bulk up salads and cooking. Mild flavoured leaves. Perpetual spinach is really good, but we don't have that here yet. I don't have any brassicas at the moment, so I've got a lot of work to do to just build up the selection that's available. There's loads of hawthorn here at Bramble Cottage, and it's technically edible but not very palatable, so I would love to do some experiments, see if we can find a way of eating this, especially since this particular bush is growing across our path, so it needs pruning anyway, and so if I can find a way to use it en masse, I'll be very happy. Finally, I had a rummage in my older potato bucket just to see if we could get a few new potatoes for our dinner, but it really was too early. I got one old potato and then one very small new potato, so we cheated on this and supplemented with a few more from the shops.
It's now the following morning. This has had a whole night just to steep and cool off and get those flavours out into the water. So next up we have our little jam bag, I think that's what these are called. We haven't used it for a while, so we're going to give it a little clean before we strain the mixture through it. Right, ready to strain our elderflower mixture through so we don't have too many bits in it. Just going to squeeze the last of the water out there because again, I want to get all of the flavour into this mix, don't want to waste anything. Right, and this mixture is going back in the pot because it's going to have to be boiled again with the sugar and the rest of the ingredients. And this is where the juice from the lemons and the orange comes back in. I've got the hob on at this stage as well, so we're going to be heating this mixture as we add the rest of the ingredients. Lemon juice and orange juice going in. I'll let the mixture warm a little bit before adding the sugar because all the sugar's got to dissolve and we've got a kilo of sugar to get through here. So this is going to take a little bit of time. So I got the sugar in and just heated it very slowly, and this took a while to get up to any kind of temperature, but patience is key. Regular stirring just to break down those sugars at the bottom, otherwise they'll clump up and it'll just take longer. So at this stage it's reached a very low simmer, and that's all I want to get it to, and at this point I'll let it simmer for a couple more minutes after this point. So I don't want it to boil because that'll just taint the flavour, but you do want to get it up to boiling, almost. Ready to decant into the bottles. Just making it easy on myself by using a second sort of jug to get it to pour into the glass bottles. Another point here is the mixture is still very hot, so I took a long time pouring this into the glass bottle because I do not want this glass bottle to explode on me. Right, perfect, done. Just let it cool.
After a bit of chaotic improvisational cooking, we ended up with really quite a nice meal. I sautéed the elephant garlic scapes with the hop shoots in some butter, and then I added the dandelion leaves to that, having blanched them to make them less bitter. And then I used the hawthorn to make a pesto, so I added lots of garlic and cashew nuts from the shops, and then basil that I had growing indoors. And to be honest, that pesto wasn't bad. I think it still needs a bit of work, but it's got potential and just needs maybe a bit more garlic and citrus flavour, I think would help it. The rest of the harvest was turned into a green leaf salad, and we then supplemented the meal with some extra potatoes, some boiled eggs, and our elderflower cordial. Cheers!